You cannot escape from death.
Lars really needs quality of life buffs to help him. Lars needs a reversal, like a reversal. No, he doesn't, bro. A reversal? Not every character needs everything. Why am I going to use a stance in neutral even then? Why exactly? This is the #1 Lars problem. Why am I doing the stance? Lars only excels when you can make players second guess their own aggression in older games. Not to pick on the Lars mains in the chat, but a reversal is not a quality of life buff. That's just a straight up buff. A reversal, like, bro basically doesn't want to play defense. That's what he said. When I play offense and it's their turn, I want to be able to reverse them so it's my turn again. He then called it a quality of life. Lars needs it. He's terrible in neutral, and you have to rely on risky, unsafe panic moves to get hyper-aggressive pokes like Nina and Anna. Maybe that's his weakness, bro. Every character is supposed to have a weakness. What would you say Lars' weaknesses are? If you buff out his weaknesses, he becomes a perfect god character who can do anything and everything. We don't want those. We don't want god characters. We want characters who have weaknesses, you know? Maybe his neutral is bad for a reason. You guys got to keep that in mind, that your weakness is what defines the character, you know? Like Yoshimitsu. Yoshimitsu has bad lows and bad tracking. If I was like, he needs a really good tracking mid. What? That would be so overpowered on a character like Yoshimitsu. A good tracking mid and low and blockable, you're cooked. You know, a lot of characters in this game are reaching the point of perfection, you know? And I'm not saying that Lars isn't weak. I'm not saying that Lars isn't strong. I'm just saying that these weaknesses should stay. And some of them should go. Maybe you're talking about one that should go. Lars' weaknesses: bad neutral, slow, laggy frame moves, and he has one move that tracks. Lars is considered the second worst character in the game, and he has a... okay, we're going to look at statistics. Second monitor. Mute the game audio, and character win rates. So Lars he's the 11th most deadliest character in the game out of 39. You probably heard that from like a Lars main, or you probably heard that from like a pro player. You know, I don't know if Lars is considered to be a terrible character in tournaments, but that's probably what they were referring to. They probably were referring to, you know, Lars' ability to do good in tournaments, which led them to say that Lars is like considered to be the worst or something like that. Certain characters kind of should be weak in tournaments, just like certain characters should be weak online. Sometimes the identity of the character will make that true no matter what. Eddie was a character who in Tekken 7 was really, really bad in tournaments. Not tournament viable at all. You would be a fool to use Eddie in tournaments. But online, Eddie was one of the most deadliest characters in the game. Lars was the same exact thing. Using him in tournaments in Tekken 7, terrible idea. But his online performance was really good. And it's vice versa like that too. Sometimes a character is terrible online, but they're really good in tournaments. I mean, if you look at Tekken 7 Jin Kazama, the same was true. Tekken 7 Jin Kazama had the worst win rate in the whole entire game. But in tournaments, he was a tournament viable character for basically the majority of the whole game. So basically what I'm saying is, just because a character is powerful or weak in online or tournaments, doesn't mean that they should be buffed, because, you know, maybe the character isn't supposed to be that. Every character is supposed to be something. And when you're changing the character from that, you kind of end up with a perfect character, a Tekken 8. I'm sorry, Moon, but you are fundamentally wrong on this logic. You're going to winning statistics in a game where cheating and plugging and people mash now. Less legacy players. We all know how dumb Tekken players are who win a lot. And also, we can filter this to every rank. Let's filter this to Eliminator rank. Eliminator rank, Lars is right here. He's still about top 15 in Eliminator rank. If we filter it by red ranks and purple ranks, Lars he's higher. He's like number 8 or something like that. If we filter it by Fujin and Tekken King, where is he? He's still top 8. When you go up to Tekken God and above, this is when Lars drops down to almost the bottom. So this is probably the reason why the top players say Lars isn't this, Lars isn't that. That's because the top level of players know how to stop him. This is why Arsenal dropped Lars. Arsenal was using Lars at the start of season 2, but then he was like, actually, Lars don't work. And he specifically said that he doesn't work against players who have really, really, really good knowledge, understanding, and reaction time, right? If you have those things, Lars is terrible. And you can see his win rate performance at the top ranks reflect that. But in every other rank, you know, the most important is blue ranks because that's where the most players are at. Lars is top 10 most effective character in the game. So how are we going to say that he needs this, he needs that, his weaknesses are too massive? It's just, once again, it's pro player propaganda. The pro players convince us of a lot of things that is not true for us. Lars is a weak character for the pro player in a pro environment, but he is not a weak character in a online environment for online players. He is actually one of the best characters you can pick. He does the most work in blue ranks. So I don't know. This is kind of my, like, you guys can disagree with what I'm saying, but I'm just telling you the statistics. If the statistics said something else, I would tell you something else. And yeah, that excuse about cheaters and whatnot, that's not a good excuse, bro. I played Tekken 8 rank when I went from Kenshin to Emperor, and I didn't run into no cheaters, no pluggers. I do know that it's a bigger problem on PC. How's it not a good excuse? Because the amount of cheaters and pluggers is eclipsed by the players playing legit. In the world, 60% divorce rate. Yeah, see, this is crazy. Bro answered the question with some like crazy statistics about divorce rates and what makes you think a video game is going to make a difference. That's crazy. Closing the tab, and I'm going back to playing Tekken 8. I thought we were having a legit conversation. I don't even understand why people care how strong their character is. If your character is weak, then you should be happy with that, since you have to earn your wins. You should focus on nerfing. I want my character to be weak as possible, as fair as possible, so when I win, the players know that it was me and not the game. You know, if Lars get buffed, people are going to start telling you, you're cheap, you're only winning because of buffs. And then you're gonna be like, no, I'm not. I'm actually good at the game. What'd you say? You said, K, go to your thing, Moon. I'm unsubbing. You can't even read a sentence right for your own videos when it's recorded. All right. But yeah, bro. If you unsubscribe, you know, I appreciate the time while you were here.
Hellflame God has donated $10 and says Cloud was never needed.
Dang, I like Cloud. Cloud's dope. Cloud's been here for a long time. Miracle Man's also dope too. I think the fact that people are willing to fight for what they believe in is awesome. I do suggest you learn grammar, reading, and punctuations on the internet. Just an honest opinion on the internet, especially if you're doing some form of journalism. It's something you can work on. Yeah, that's something that I do work on, bro. Like, even like doing streams right now, like what you just typed out, reading you guys' messages helped me read better. I see the comments when people are like, this guy can't read, but I can't do anything immediate. It's something you have to work on. I won't really argue specific balancing things, but I know generally buffing characters' weaknesses out is the problem that we have with Tekken 8. Generally. So to do that for Lars, is that more of the problem or is that a solution? Sometimes there is a fatal flaw with a character and something needs to be done. But I just looked at Lars' win statistics and it didn't look like anything needed to be done. I hate that when I play against people with Yoshimitsu and they be like, you only won because Yoshi. You only won because the Flash. You know, it didn't used to be that way. At one point in time, when I won with my character, people were like, oh, wow, he's good. Now it's just like, oh, he's only won because of this. Pro players beg for buffs and sometimes get them. And still don't even make top 8. Meanwhile, the whole game is worse because of it. You can also fill in the blank and say, regular players beg for buffs and sometimes get them, and they still don't even reach max rank, and the game is worse because of it. Stop asking for buffs because you're not going to win anyways. Even if your character gets buffed, Arsenal is going to switch mains and stomp you in a mirror match. If we were to apply this same thing to online once more, even if your character gets buffed, all of the good players are going to switch to your character and they're going to body you in a mirror match. You're going to have a 1,000 people playing Yoshimitsu because he's buffed now, and you're gonna get cooked. If you were really good, he would just win.